remember, we have a little chit chat while we wait for people to log in. I see some people coming in right now. There's Kirk. How's your hump day going?
Good.
You're not familiar with that term?
I am. It's the middle of the week
Yeah. Okay, cool.
when I'm time traveling.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and get started. It's just about that time. What do you think?
Sounds good.
All right. Hi, folks. Thanks for joining. My name is Whaley. I'm one of the co-founders here of Teal. I'm joined by Reid Johnston, my partner in crime.
Hello.
Reid, what are we going to be talking about today?
Today we're talking all about Copilot Cowork.
Well, that is fantastic. It's relatively new. And I think I mentioned to you before, we should say up front that it's in preview mode, it's in Frontier. So some things may not work. Fortunately, we've pre-run a few things that we want to show. But before we get there, Reid, sort of tell us what Cowork is, Copilot Cowork
Sure.
is as it compares to chat.
Yeah. So the biggest comparison to make, or the biggest difference really, is chat is going to look at your Microsoft 365 data and surface information for you. Summaries, information about your files, and so on. It'll help you create content as well, generate ideas. We've done examples before where we've made LinkedIn posts and things, but all of that happens live in front of you in that single chat thread, where Cowork is meant to be more autonomous. You can type in a prompt for Cowork, which is an agent, basically. It's an agent, and it will go off and do that task that you've typed in while you can go do something else. So the expectation is you give it a task, it goes and does its thing, and it's similar to the researcher agent that it takes a while. When I'm in chat, I want an immediate response, and it's pretty fast. With Cowork, I'm going to sit there. If I'm sitting there watching it, it's going to take a few minutes or more because Cowork is a reasoning agent where it's going to go through your request. It's going to use the knowledge and tools that it has access to. And tools is the other key piece that chat doesn't really have tools. It just looks at information. Whereas Cowork has skills or tools where it can interact with stuff in your environment. It can create documents. It can send emails. It can send Teams messages. It can update your calendar. So we'll show some of those examples today.
Yeah. So while you're sharing your screen, I'll just read to you specifically what Microsoft says. The differences are Copilot Chat, always on AI for drafting, summarizing, and answering questions, whereas Copilot is agentic AI that completes multi-step work across Microsoft 365. The speed of chat is single step, single session, fast focused. Task supported, whereas the speed of Copilot Cowork is minutes to hours.
Yeah.
And then we want to talk really, thanks for sharing your screen,
Mhm.
cost for Copilot Cowork.
Yeah. So Cowork is part of that Frontier program. And in order to use the Frontier program, you need to have a Microsoft 365 Copilot business license. So depending on your subscription and promos that Microsoft is doing, you're looking at about $30 per user per month that has access to this.
And then you mentioned something about skills.
Mhm.
I believe Cowork comes with about 13 skills built in, but can you build your own skills?
Yeah, you can. And we won't do that today. That should be a subsequent meeting, but you can basically say build a skill to do what I just chatted with you about. And it will go through your chat history inside of Cowork that you just had, and it will put that into a file. That file lives in your OneDrive, and in the future, Cowork will look at that file for instructions. A skill is basically a set of detailed instructions to perform a task the same way every time.
Great. All right. So I've sort of hosed up my view here. So I'm looking at two monitors, but I
That's
think we want to start it by running a prompt and then we'll come back and look at it later. So this is a little bit, gets a little bit complex. So we pre-run these things just to reiterate. So it'll be easier for folks to follow. But first is updating your calendar.
Yeah, so one of the tools that Cowork has is the ability to manipulate your calendar. So it can change event colors, it can create events, make changes to events. So I've got a simple prompt here. Look at my calendar for the week of 4/27, so next week. For any internal reoccurring meeting, add a 30-minute block in front of it so I can prep for that reoccurring meeting. Unless it already has block in it, because I block out my calendar throughout the days and weeks.
Oh,
So
you
when
already ran. I was going to say, show your calendar first.
show it first. Yeah, I'll pull it up here. So here's the calendar. This is the week of 4/27. You can see I've got my blocks in the morning. I've got a board meeting. We've got a reoccurring automation meeting. We have a reoccurring leadership meeting. We've got our Teal weekly check-in and a tools and stack meeting. So I've got a few different internal weekly or reoccurring meetings, basically. And if I go back here, uh, Cowork is now working on that. So it's viewing my calendar first, and it's going to kind of iterate through. So we should let it do its thing here, and we can talk about some other stuff because
So
this will take a while.
when we look at the end, we should see the meeting prep before those three meetings or four meetings, whatever you just showed.
Yeah. Yep.
Fantastic. We'll look at it in a minute. But I think next we wanted to talk about uh, inbox.
Got it. Yeah. So one thing that comes up a lot is you want to look for content in your inbox, right? Maybe messages from a particular vendor. So I want to show the distinction here. Um, I put a prompt into chat, read my emails from the last 7 days from PAX 8, and provide me with a listing of messages and a quick summary. This is a typical thing I would put into chat, and it did a great job. It found um, 5 messages, which sounds about right. Now, remember though, chat can't return 50 things. It just can't. Microsoft puts a limit on it. It's about 10. So if I had more than 10 messages from PAX 8 in the last week, it probably wouldn't even surface them all, and I wouldn't even know, which is an interesting limitation of chat. At the end here, it gave me some takeaways, and I said, email it to me. It drafts an email and it gives me a little tool here that I can click send, which is nice. This is actually pretty new. I haven't experienced this before personally, having a little inline email tool. If I go back into Cowork, I'm going to show you, I ran this same prompt earlier. Said, okay, read my emails from the last 7 days from PAX 8. It gave me a similar output. It's the same messages, which is great. And then I said, email it to me. First time it errored out. And then I hit retry. And it just sent the message on its own. No
Prove
problem.
that. Prove that it worked.
So I got to go into my Outlook now. Just a second here. Got to find it. Because like you, I've got a bunch of open windows here.
Maybe I shouldn't have asked that question in a live webinar.
I got it here. So here it is. So here's the message. Here's the summary of message of emails. And then it found another one, automatic reply, and it embedded this little sent by Copilot Cowork because it was an automation that sent it for me. So Microsoft put that in to protect people, I guess, from thinking they're getting a real message when it was really an automation. But that's pretty neat. Um, I'll contrast that with the email that I sent out of chat. So Remember before I went into chat, typed in the same prompt, and it gave me that email tool. And when I hit send, this is the output I got. There's no sent with Cowork because I'm the one that hit send. And that's the big difference. If you're in chat, you're triggering all the actions live. If you're in Cowork, it's working on its own.
So theoretically, if you go back to chat cowork, and I
Mhm.
feel like we might already be getting confusing, but you go into the Pax8 emails. Pax8 is a distributor. You asked it, what are my last emails?
Yep.
Um, you could theoretically, and I don't know that you need to do this right now, you could automate that to occur once a week.
Let's try that.
Okay.
Schedule this to occur every Monday morning. Because one of the things you can do with Cowork is create a reoccurring task that just happens on its own. Now, when you would type the same thing into Copilot chat, it would kind of gaslight you. It would say, I did it, and it wouldn't necessarily do it. But now I've got a little output here. Search my inbox. So this is the prompt it's going to use, basically. And then it's going to create a new chat or a new co-work thread, a session every time it does this. And I can activate and run or just activate it because I just ran it. But let's activate and run. So now it created the schedule for me and it's going to rerun the prompt that it did up here, basically, with a little bit more information because it's a more thorough
It
prompt.
actually auto created a better prompt for you. On the
Yep.
right there, you can see that's the task. And I believe if you go back to the root of, there you go. If you go back to the root of cowork up there on the left,
Mhm.
you'll see your tasks.
Yep.
There you go. See that
I
last one?
schedule.
Click it. Yep, that's the one you just created.
Mhm.
Fantastic. All right, so uh, we've done update calendar. We'll look at that in a second. Find
Yep.
all emails, and then we automated it. That was a little bit extra. Meeting summaries is something you really love, and hopefully we'll get time to get to the third one, which is what I really need. So meeting summaries.
Sure. Yeah. So this is something that I do a lot where I'll have a meeting and I need to generate a summary. We've talked about a variety of different ways to do that. I've got some weird halo light on my head here, but that's all right. We'll deal with it. Um, I type in a prompt to summarize a meeting. So here's a meeting that I had, a weekly automation meeting, and I can scroll through it. There's a bunch of great content in there. And I said, okay, at the end, um, update this document. That was my prompt. And if I click on that, Copilot Chat kind of gaslit me again. It said it did it, but it didn't actually do it. So I put the same prompt into Cowork, and it's this weekly automation meeting. Go up to the top here, summarize the meeting, and place the summary in this document template because we have a document template that's got our logo on it and page numbers and all that fun stuff. So it errored out at first, and I wish I could have shown that because it sat for about 15 minutes and aired out. But then I said rerun it, and then it went pretty quickly. And then at the end, it said it saved it into this file. So let's open that up. So here's the summary that it wrote using the letterhead template format that I gave it to begin with. So think of how you could apply this. You could say, for every meeting that I had last week, output a summary for my client using our meeting summary document template. And then I could have other content in my template that it would insert into. So this is really cool. It's using the Microsoft Word skill that came built in from Microsoft when they released this to be able to work with documents. So
But you
pretty,
put that template in, right?
yeah, I gave it this template. I picked from our SharePoint, I grabbed a
Mhm.
copy of our template file and I said, use that.
Now, going off what we had planned a little bit more, since we're doing this live anyways, and you
Mhm.
got the schedule to work, could you build a skill that has our brand guidelines?
Absolutely. That would be
Rather
for,
than just copy the template in, we have a document that says, here's our brand guidelines. We use this color for this and this color for that.
yep.
So you could build that skill.
Yeah, that's something to try out. I've done that in Claude Cowork, and I intend to do the same thing in Copilot Cowork.
All right. So let's get to the last one before we should go back and show the update calendar. And that's the one that I really need. So let's say I go on vacation, which doesn't occur much, but if I did, people are teamsing me, chatting me with little tasks that they want me to do. So how, when I get back, could I go back through and find all the tasks?
Yeah. So again, this is the type of request I would normally put into Copilot chat. I'd say review my messages with somebody from the last week or the last 2 weeks or whatever, however long you were gone, right? Hypothetically, if you were ever to leave. Uh, what did we talk about? So chat returned really only about seven or so things. And I know I talked with Jesse a lot more than that. So I put the same prompt into Cowork and I'll go back up to the top here, review my team's messages. And the response that it gave me was about 20 some things here. Now, at first, it gave me timestamps. And I said, I don't want timestamps. I want URLs that I can jump back to those Teams messages. So I gave it a modified prompt, and here's the response. So Jesse and I talked about a lot of stuff over the last week, and this is what you can do when you come back from vacation to get caught up on what are all the topics that we talked about in all these different places that I have access to.
Right.
Um, Pretty neat. And again, because this is a reasoning agent that takes a longer period of time, it actually surfaced all the topics. Whereas when I was in chat, it only gave me, the first 10 or so.
Yes, that's interesting. I mean, you could definitely
Pretty
see the
cool.
difference. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
So then what were those open buttons though, Reid? Somebody's asking.
Yeah, the open button, that's the link that's from the Microsoft Teams message that lets me, I click on it, it'll take me into Teams and take me into that part of the chat thread. So I can jump right back to where we were talking about that topic.
That's awesome. All
Yeah,
right, so let's go back, just sort of can finish up here, 20 minutes or less. Let's go back to your calendar and see if it has worked because we didn't pre-run that. We did pre-run it on the previous week to test it.
yeah. So
So
this,
it still looks like it's running.
it's still running. Yeah, let's just go and look. It has not added anything yet. So an example of this can take a while, right? Now maybe it's in an error state and I just can't see it yet. But
Yeah,
this is
maybe, but we did it 20 minutes ago on the previous week and it works. So,
yeah, yeah. But this is again, this is the Frontier program. So this
yep.
is preview stuff. And it's likely that features and capabilities are going to change without notice. And we have to expect bugs. This is not general release. And with Microsoft, we sometimes expect bugs with general release stuff too.
Yes, we do. Any schedule on when it'll be released that you're aware of?
I'm not sure. No, I mean it just since Cowork just came out at the end of the month in March, um, I think it'll be a while. Claude Cowork has a pretty significant head start on Microsoft Cowork.
Well, that's a
So,
great segue or foreshadowing. We're doing a Claude co-work in the beginning of next month or the middle of next month, but we already have that on the schedule because we're using Claude co-work as well.
mhm.
That said, Reid, sum us up real quick just by reiterating the differences between chat and Copilot. I'm sorry,
Sure.
Copilot Chat and Copilot Cowork.
Yep. So Copilot Chat is immediate response, simple summaries, simple searching through my Microsoft data. Copilot Cowork is self-run tasks that can be scheduled that interact with all sorts of different data and tools. So writing documents, updating my calendar, sending Teams messages, and you can create your own skills that you can reuse later.
Just far more powerful.
Yep.
Great. All right, Reid, thanks so much, folks. Thanks for joining us today. When our marketing folks, Brittany and Caden, send you the recording of this video, we'll put a couple links that you can download some quick tips on Claude Cowork or a basic overview and maybe some FAQs about it or something like that. Thanks so much for joining. Have a wonderful Wednesday. See you next time.
See you later.